what it's like to live, die, and awaken. Introducing the story of Anna.
Have you ever wondered if we exist on the other side? This compelling story will help you decide.
A mother's letter after her child commits suicide. Suicide is one of the most selfish actions a person can take. Suicide puts an immediate end to that person's pain, torment, and despair, but it brings an immediate beginning of pain, torment, and despair to that person's loved ones. In many ways, your suicide can be seen as a legacy that you left behind, because the suffering you were going through is now the suffering your friends, family, teammates, and close colleagues are going through. There's no way to kill yourself, but to me, hanging yourself has to be the most brutal way to end your life. My gorgeous, handsome, funny, thoughtful, kind, popular son hung himself on August 2nd, 2018. He was a fitness fanatic, loved playing soccer and Gaelic football, worked hard, and loved life. He crammed a lot of living into his 26 years on Earth and left a lot of wonderful memories that we, his family and friends, could write a book on. And that is how we started this project. The Suicide Letter Project, to help save lives. And we now tell our next story to save someone's life.
Mom, I want you to know that I love you dearly, and I will always love you forever. Even though it may be hard to believe that I do truly love you. If I was given a chance to live my life all over again, I would still choose you as my mother, and our family will still be the same, and I would choose the same country of origin. But it feels so unfortunate because I just don't think I'll ever have that opportunity in my life. I just wish that I could. Mom, I didn't want to do this in this manner, but I have been struggling with depression beyond my control, and I just want to take the dive. I just don't want to live. I have truly tried my best to pull through, but I feel that my best has not been good enough. I have battled all alone for about 3 years now, until, well, my strength has given up on me. You and Dad have no idea what I have been going through, and I don't blame you for that. I believe my one and only sister is the only one that came close to even understanding what I might be going through, but she's just too young for me to give her great details about what I was going through. Mom, I know that you and Dad love me and did everything you could to prove that to me, but I just wasn't feeling loved. I was always feeling hopeless inside. You provided so much adventure in my life, and amazing trips and places that we traveled to. Despite all these beautiful things you did for me, deep down inside, I was just longing for love, and I felt so alone. I needed someone who would love me for who I was. I needed someone who would understand the depth of my hurting soul. I know you tried to spoil me, but most of the time you were working and I was home alone. And then came the last straw that broke the camel's back. You had your brother come live with us, Uncle Fred, who came to live with us and had me believing that he knew exactly what I was longing for. A companion because I was so lonely, and he kept me busy. Uncle Fred always found a way to stay home when you and Dad were working, and he would help me get through my loneliness, my so-called loneliness. He tried to keep me company when I needed someone to talk to. I trusted Uncle Fred, Uncle good old Alfred, and he had me call him Fred. But Mom, your brother raped me for 3 whole years. I truly expected you and Dad would eventually realize that my depression was worse when I didn't speak at all. But you never asked me any questions. When Fred left our house, I felt devastated and shattered because I felt a void, a complete void of his presence and all the dirty deeds that I had to keep a secret. I was so afraid to say something or to lose him along the way, but eventually this left me so empty inside, and my life became unbearable. I struggled and I tried to forget everything I went through. Unfortunately, I could not forget long enough to escape myself. My grades were failing. I was not doing well in school. My friendships were lacking. And I was just getting deeper into a black hole. Mom, I felt that I had to do whatever Uncle Fred wanted because I felt so lonely. Even once, did you ever think about what I was going through? Or why I was always in my room all the time when I was home alone? Couldn't you for once have gone out of your way to talk to me, to spend some time with me? You couldn't even ask me anything, Mom? Like, how was I doing? Anything, Mom, but you never did. I felt I wanted to tell you so bad, and I wanted to end the pain and make the pain go away, but I didn't want to make things painful for you or torment you or anyone, or Dad for that matter. I just wanted to die and be buried. But Mom, please make sure that my sister, Zoe, doesn't go through what I've been through. Also, make sure you tell your family members that do have children to ask questions about what is happening in their child's life so that it's not too late for them. Because apparently it sounds like this family is in shambles. And parents should really be more alert and show love through listening to their children. I'm sorry, Mom. By the time you find this letter, I would be long gone. But there's one great thing about this. My twin Zoe is still there with you. Please, give her that love and that nurturing that she so needs and desires. And Mom, all my passwords for my phone and my laptop are on a piece of paper on my study desk. That way you can see everything and know everything that I have gone through. I will truly miss you, and it hurts me to empty this container of pills into my mouth at this time. I am compelled to do so. I am compelled to do so, Mom. Tell Dad and Zoe that I love them so much. Mom, many kids in school were so jealous of me. Please tell them not to envy me no more. Goodbye, Mom. I love you.
That was the suicide note of a 17-year-old girl called Chloe. Before she committed suicide, she left this letter to her mother, as reported. Suicide is a tragic reaction to stressful life situations, and all the more tragic because suicide can be prevented. Whether you're considering suicide or know someone who feels suicidal, learn the warning signs and how to reach out for immediate help and professional help to get treatment. You may save a life, or your own, or someone else's. It may seem like there's no way out, there's no way to solve your problems, and that suicide is the only way to end the pain. But please, take the steps and stay safe and start enjoying your life again. Please call the suicide hotline if you or anyone you know feels suicidal.
The next story is a compelling story about a 28-year-old girl who accidentally overdoses. These overdoses are also called accidental suicides.
I am SARAD from England, and I grew up in Florida. 1 year before entering rehab, I began experiencing extreme weight loss. I had just lost my father to a car accident, and shortly after, my mother passed away from a heart attack. I felt extremely devastated, and I sought out a rehab for addiction. Unfortunately, I continued to enter rehab and walk out, signing myself out on a constant basis. After leaving rehab, my life began a downward spiral. I became violent, admitting to myself that my behaviors largely stemmed from drinking and using crack cocaine. And on many occasions, heroin was my best friend. In 2010, I overdosed on drugs and alcohol. In particular, cocaine, heroin, ecstasy, and ketamine were all found in my system. Aside from substance abuse, I struggled with depression, self-harm, and eating disorders. These struggles appeared to continue over many years of my life. Although I claimed to remain sober at times, no one ever knew whether or not I was really telling the truth about my addictions. Those who knew me, however, believed that I was getting better. However, in 2010, I joined the 27 Club for Addictions. Despite remaining drug-free, I drank until I eventually was faced with alcohol poisoning and was hospitalized on life support. And, believe it or not, I overcame this obstacle. Obviously, my behaviors didn't end here. I continued to use drugs and alcohol. I lied to my family and asked for financial help all the time, and they believed I was doing well, which was my favorite thing to say. I am doing well. I literally had just finished 1 year of rehab, and honestly, there's not one sober person in rehab. It's a complete hamster wheel. But I certainly thought and believed that I was sober for a year. It could have been a day or months. The point is, being sober, even for a day, is a struggle for most of us. Struggling to remain sober. On top of that, we believe our own lies when we want everyone to believe us, especially mom and dad. I remember I had just gotten out of rehab and I was driving my car as I left the rehab, and I was in Davie, Florida. It was Friday morning, October 6, 2013. I remember this as clear as day. As I was driving on South Federal Highway, there was a woman, and she was on foot, and I accidentally struck her with my car. Her name was Carrie Truman, only 32 years old, and she was taken to the Broward Health Medical Center. And this is where Carrie died. I was 28 years old at the time, and I was not injured. Carrie's father had reported that his daughter was bipolar and also just got out of treatment for addiction. One would have to stop and ask many questions here as to what are the odds of this situation. Despite Mr. Truman's daughter's problems, the accident may have been or not have been a suicide attempt. Apparently, Carrie's father had reported that she had been taking medications and seemed to be doing pretty well and sober. Keywords, pretty well. The accident occurred Friday on South Federal Highway in Broward County, and Miss Truman was a passenger in a Honda, which was apparently pulled onto the side of the highway, and no one knows why the vehicle pulled over to the side of the road. When the vehicle pulled over, Carrie exited and parked the vehicle and walked into the northbound lanes of the highway, a reporter stated. Officials weren't sure why Carrie wandered into the road. I was unable to stop in time and struck Carrie with my vehicle. Yes, I did. Carrie was rushed to the Broward Health Medical Center, where sadly she died of her injuries around the same time Friday night. I was uninjured. I did stay at the car crash scene and cooperated with the traffic homicide investigators and detectives. This was an unfortunate fatal accident killing an innocent woman. I bet you're wondering if I was sober. Don't worry just yet. I do get mine. The story is not over. Don't be fooled. The car crash was under investigation for years to follow. And in order to prevent prison time, I certainly entered rehab once again. I had lost control of the vehicle during the crash and lived with the guilt of killing someone every single day of my life. And honestly, sobriety didn't get closer, but further away. My addiction continued to spiral. Shortly after, I met my boyfriend in rehab, and we were determined to get sober together, so I thought. Peter and I lasted about 3 months until he overdosed, and I found him dead. Sobriety kept slipping away as traumatic events continued to rise in my life. Since Peter's death, I blamed myself for not identifying the problem earlier and for killing Carrie. But no matter how much I beat myself up, it didn't change. Nothing changed. My problems continued to stay the same. And I can't bring back the dead. I myself was the walking dead trying to fight to survive and overcome my illness of addictions and mental illness that burdened my daily life. I just couldn't stand myself anymore. I slept around with different people just to get my next fix, and this created more chaos in my soul. My depression increased, and I knew that I possessed some amazing talents, but honestly, I never used them. When it came to alcohol and drugs, I always found a way to get those needs met. All my issues resulted in legal and personal issues. It all became a matter of life and death for me. I was fighting to survive, but not only for my addictions. I just didn't care who I hurt along the way, including myself. Many times I felt suicidal and just wanted to end my life. Many times I self-sabotaged my own identity. I would cut myself, cut my arms, and drink to the point of not understanding anything, and use drugs to numb out any pain that I felt inside. I just wanted to die. The fear of my life, the way it was, became unbearable and so severe at times that I just didn't want to live. I felt alone and no one to turn to. And I had already burned so many bridges. I felt that no one could resonate with me in my life, that no one could understand me, that there must be no one else going through the very same thing that I was going through. Perhaps if I could stage another intervention and fight the problem before it escalates again, I might actually have friends and family to support me. Unfortunately, my disease spiraled and I lost control, so many times. And my friend, I could not be saved. I died on June 20th, 2019, of a drug overdose. But you, my friend, still have a chance. Don't let others drive your death while you're still alive and have a chance to change your life. I left a grieving mother, lovers, and others behind. But you, my friend, can change the trajectory of your life. Don't let the past steal your future. You can get help and change your life. There are so many people that love you. I believe it's possible for you. My stories contain lessons despite what has occurred in my struggles. You can remain alive and listen to my voice from the other side. Embrace sobriety and enjoy your time on earth. You deserve to live a happy, fulfilled life. One story like many others. My name is Amanda, and I will share the story of my husband. My husband was experiencing similar, undeniable emergencies due to induced alcohol and over-medicating intoxication. I call it a slow, debilitating, involuntary, accidental suicide. However, depicted a general feeling of profound distress that chased after him like a dull tempest cloud and made him vibe like living did not merit the exertion. Sobriety and guidance, counseling, and proper dosage of medication has never helped him. He continued to learn and embrace change, but could never create that real change. My husband wanted a self-inflicted unintentional death. Self-inflicted unintentional death is basically what I call self-harm that could result in death. As I slowly watched him self-inflict injury on himself, poisoning himself, or even suffocating himself with evidence of alcohol or drugs on many different nights. He had no idea what he was doing. And did he even have a conscious intent to die? My husband was gloomy when our marriage ended in a long separation, and he turned to liquor and painkillers to attempt to numb his agony even more. He found that it just aggravated the torment and considered ending his life numerous times while intoxicated. And on top of that, he started to use crack cocaine. And this altered his opinion, and it eventually erupted into chaos. And he tried to shift it and alter his life into continuing sobriety. But due to the mere fact that he just kept giving up, his thoughts tortured him, and his nights were full of distraught aggravation. And to sum it all up, and all his sleepless nights, which were plenty of them, had me locked up in a room for my own protection. Most people wonder how I overcame such obstacles. I admit it was a controversial subject, and my goals were wretched. I went to work and I tried to help other people all day long, and yet my husband tortured me at home. I had no peace of mind, no tranquility during chaotic times throughout my life with my husband. A part of me wished he just died. I couldn't take it anymore. I tried to turn to God and seek for answers for serious changes in my life. And fortunately, I was able to step out of my relationship and get my life back together, as I did not want to interfere with my husband's drug habits. His crack cocaine spiraled out of control, and our marriage unfortunately suffered from his ignorance. My desire for my husband was for him to get well, but this desire was simply just not enough. I had to step aside and allow the course of action to take place. Even if I didn't want to see the truth was right in front of my eyes. And God had prepared us all along. Many sleepless nights where my husband intentionally hurt himself and self-sabotage his own identity and his skin. I didn't understand him. I didn't know what was happening to him. Was he possessed? Was he evil? Did the devil reside inside him? I just couldn't even confront him anymore. My eyes and my nights were filled with tears and fear, and I realized that he was driven by something greater, which was evil itself. He felt hopeless, suicidal, and wanted to end his life, and at times he was even homicidal. I'm not sure I could understand how he would get this way, but his addiction was a complete self-infliction. And there were no warning signs up ahead every time. My husband was self-destructive and almost killed us both. In describing what has happened and how crazy it was, and that for a bleak moment I thought things would change, but then I questioned my own sanity. I found myself desperate and paralyzed. And I myself got to the point where I felt suicidal. And I wanted to kill myself or both of us. But then I recognized that this was not the answer, nor the solution. And I was able to save my own life. I learned to master my self-observer. And I continue to observe our lives and unselfishly stepped out of the way with love. God gave me the strength and patience to believe that I could be on my own and finally leave my husband and live a separate life. Unfortunately, my husband's addiction spiraled until he lost everything, including his sanity. There was no miracle that would change anything at this point. The only miracle left was for me to change my life and save my own life. Despite everything that happened, I wish him well, and I love him with all my heart. As embarrassing
as my life was with him. I'm just simply humble and happy to be able to save my own life and to understand the importance of my life and how valuable the lessons were in creating a better life for myself and for my 3 children. I'm truly grateful for the miracle of saving my life and my children's life. And at this time, I no longer suffer from depression or anxiety or any suicidal thoughts or ideas or even wanting to kill my very own husband, who made me suffer incredibly. And yet I realized throughout my shame that only I had the power to take back my life, and that I can create a life of abundance if I so choose to, and that I can also create a life of freedom from chaos and torture. I am one of those stories of one of those people who have survived suicide, thoughts and attempts and ideas, and even homicidal thoughts and ideas. Amanda was a 35-year-old woman that dealt with severe domestic violence and her husband constantly drinking and using drugs to hide his own pain from trauma of abuse that he endured. Amanda found herself alone, ashamed, and at times suicidal and homicidal. And Amanda is simply a story of what could happen if we get help. Amanda overcame her obstacles, her shame, her fears, and she left her husband and has survived. She is now doing very well with her 3 children and living in Nebraska. Amanda is a miracle. She is the story that we all need to be able to get through this. If you know anyone that's thinking about hurting themselves or others, killing themselves, or harming someone else, please do not hesitate to call the suicide hotline. It could change their lives and it could save someone's life. Depression can happen to anyone. 1 in 4 people suffer from depression. That means that someone that you love, someone that is in your life, a friend, a family member, someone is suffering. And even it could be you. Everyone feels down now and again. The separation of a relationship, the loss of death, awful things that happen in life. Here and there we get bitter. And sometimes we have no clear direction as to the reason of why we're feeling so down and out. An individual can feel down and out and feel in misery and have no idea where to turn, who to speak to, or even if someone qualifies to meet these needs. Because suicide is something that should be discouraged, but most people have fear when they even hear the word suicide. They don't know how to react. They don't know how to satisfy the potential of distracting the thought of any suicidal thoughts, ideas, or intents.
While schools, families are in complete distress over their loved ones, in agony of depression, and some of them are untreated. This condition can take over someone's life, and you might not even recognize it. And it could be your very own family or friends, and they feel misunderstood. They've suffered with depression for years, and no one even knows about it. What we need to do is avoid suicide. We need to start talking about it more, speaking louder and clearer than ever, so that we can actually prevent it and end the stigma of the thought of suicide being something so horrible and troubled. Although it is, we need to support people that are feeling this way and not shun them away and make them feel as if something is totally wrong with them. Well, that very may well be so. And obviously, unrealistic thoughts and stressors of suicide can end up taking someone's life. And if someone's contemplating about suicide, it's time for you to step in and step up and talk to them. Portray some emotional foundation that you actually care and that it's important to you as much as it's important to them. Happiness can only be found when the person can accept who they fully are. And this, my friend, takes time, and it takes courage, and it takes transformation. And some people are going through a transformation and they have no idea that they're going through it. And the mindset doesn't change the depression, only adds to it. And when a loved one can help and guide someone that's going through a transformation, this could very well save their lives. Many people are in constant struggle of depression because they're seeking out to find who they are, who they truly are inside, and they want to experience love. And love is usually not that far away. It's right inside you. And when you turn to yourself and you know that love is there all along, you will need not to look elsewhere, but accept all things. Little by little, my friend, do not rush the process. There are burdens to be dealt with in life, and that is all part of the troubles of life. Yet, there are miracles that lie up ahead as well. You are a miracle of life. Please don't give up on your life.
The purpose of this film is to create awareness, a positive awareness movement.
Thank you for joining our movement. We are so grateful that you are helping us make a difference.